I'm calling on some commercial space. I'm interested in talking lease terms here. This is in Johnston. It's Scalp Avenue. I'm not a broker or an agent. I'm actually looking to talk lease terms with you.
Okay, for Scalp Avenue, are you referring to the Richland Plaza or are you referring to the land?
The plaza, there's actually a commercial suite that we are interested in.
Okay, how big of a space are you looking for?
Well, Barb, I'm looking specifically at the Coin Laundry location on Scalp. So that's what I do, laundromats. And we scout.
Are you looking at to buy there? I can contact you with the current lease tenant and see if he's willing to sell
So what I was saying,
or get his
sure.
lease assignment.
Yeah. I made that mistake 20 years ago. I bought a laundromat, and what we do now is precisely what we are in the process of doing. We scout these stores. Let me guess, Barb, you don't frequent laundromats. You don't spend your Sundays dragging laundry into a laundromat. Neither do I. Many middle-class folks don't. And a lot of these stores fall apart over the years. They're no longer putting the cash back in it takes to be successful. That's the short version of it. So we've physically scouted this spot. It's a nice strip mall. There's great businesses there, but this particular operator is no longer holding up their end of the bargain, if you will. And look, if they're a great tenant, they pay on time, God bless. Why am I calling you? I'm not looking to buy it. I'm not looking to reach out to your operator or your tenant in any way, shape, or form. And you're maybe tuning out already, but what you want are good tenants. And what this place needs is $300,000-$400,000 in improvements, and that's just washers and dryers. And that's what I do. So I'm not a flipper. I'm not a broker. I don't sell my laundries. If and when this works, maybe they're in arrears now. I don't know. I'm not asking about your tenant, but nothing lasts forever other than my marriage. And, frankly, if they come to you hat in hand and they want a rent reduction or something changes, great. I'm not the specter tossing people out on their ear. I can't do that. But when the time comes, I'd love to talk terms with you. Why am I calling? If this makes sense, it's the infrastructure, the gas, water, and electric. They literally have 50% of the equipment is broken. They have barrels in there with what looks like old wooden, I don't even know, countertops that they found in the trash that they're having people use for folding. I don't know if you tour your properties, but we just don't treat the consumer that way. And the equipment that's in there is 35 years old.
Would you be investing your own money to do your infrastructure because the equipment is owned by the tenant?
Yeah.
It's 100%. Not owned by the landlord.
Great question. And that's very typical. If this was a Starbucks, they'd leave and they'd take their machines with them if they decided to pull out corporate-wise. This is a small business, and you said infrastructure, that's different from the F&E. The equipment, we spend the money on that, yes. They can't take the gas and the water and the electric with them. They need to leave that behind, even if they try to take the equipment. But in my experience,
right,
they don't take the equipment because
Correct.
It's very, very heavy, and it's worthless in place. Why would they take it? I don't want it. It's junk. That's a really good question, by the way.
They would either sell it out or have to dispose of it if they moved out in our leases. And then if we released it, it may be a laundromat, it may be something else. It would turn into a vanilla box for whoever the next tenant would be.
Right. That's very typical,
So-
and that's also why it's important, I believe, that I'm tapping you and letting you know what our interest is, because we don't want a vanilla space or an empty gray box. We want a laundromat. And if you're looking to proliferate that type of business, that's what we do. I hear you asking really good pointed questions, and I don't want to ask about your tenant, but let me be clear. When do you think we might be able to talk terms and find out if this is plausible for us?
For you to lease the space.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what you're asking? review his lease. Probably 2025.
There you go. And, as you know, that's the blink of an eye. I don't want to see this small business or any small business or any laundromat fail. And they have choices. They can certainly come to you, Barb, sign a long-term lease, and then make an attempt to sell the business. But if they try to sell it today, right now, tomorrow, next week, they don't have any bargaining chip because they don't have that lease. I own some of my space. I own some of the malls. But at the end of the day, they don't have that bargaining chip. Let me do this. I'll send you an email. If and when the time comes, we will talk terms. And trust me, I'll set my calendar for 2025. I don't want to see you and your group pull the infrastructure, but that discussion needs to come at that point or perhaps sometime between now and then to find out whether or not this is plausible for us versus you. If that mix fits for you, if you have...
Let me ask you a question.
Please.
Since you called in and you're asking about this. What is the new interest in laundromats? This has been about the 7th call from brokers I've received and tenants in the last 6 months. And these calls are coming from all over the U.S. So what is the new
Well, let me be clear. We're local.
Because I've had these other ones.
Let me be crystal clear. We are local. I'm intrigued as well.
In Johnstown or in Cambria? Are you in
Yes.
Johnstown or in Cambria County?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
You
we have
can't, and let me
laundromats
say this,
in
you
Blair
can't run.
County and in Center County too. But I've had calls recently for 4 different laundromats through Center, Cambria, and Blair. And that's what I'm wondering. I've never had these calls, and all of a sudden in the last month, I've had several.
Sure.
So I was curious what the new turn is that they believe laundromats are the new.
Barb, I'm curious myself, but I can only speak for my experience. I can't speak for yours. I have some thoughts, but you said calls all over the U.S. This is my cellular phone. That's what I'm calling you on. So
I mean, I've had emails, and I've had from local vendors that have several different laundromats in Blair County, and that
we have four threads going. We have 4 threads. We have 4 threads going. So let me answer, please. I want to first clear up. Obviously, I'm selfish, and this is my partner and my intrigue. We are local. You said calls and emails all over the U.S. So just to compartmentalize that, I'm calling you on a cellular phone. I have a ranch in Arizona. I've got quite a few properties. I'm not looking to impress, but that's the fact. I haven't had a landline anywhere for years. People are intrigued because of the market shift, my opinion. Okay. The universe has gone from, hey, I'm going to make money online and I'm going to sell products and reship and repackage. I'm going to do multi-level marketing. And I want to say this, in my opinion, I'm 52 years old, and kids today don't want to work. They want to do something quick and easy. Again, just my opinion. You asked a very poignant question. You also said something else, that you're getting calls from distributors. I know you used a different word. Distributors, right? The folks that want to take this, they've walked in, have they walked this store? Let me ask that. I don't know. Are they telling you, hey, I've walked this laundromat?
A few have, and a few haven't. Some are ones that have moved away from home that were from this area, and other ones are brokers that are calling for their
Sure.
clients.
So now we have 5 threads going. Brokers, meaning that are you talking about real estate brokers, or are you talking about business brokers that sell
Yes.
yogurt? Okay, business brokers.
Really,
Well,
both
sure.
franchise and real estate brokers.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, now we have 6 threads going. Franchise. And again, I want to ask, I don't claim to be an expert in anything. I've been doing this for 20 years. We would be your guarantors. My partner Chuck would sign this lease, to be crystal clear. Brokers want to sell a business, and they would sell the business as it sits. So that's why they're calling you. They're trolling so that they can take this business, list it on their website, and sell it. Cash businesses are exploding for many, many reasons. Social media being one. I don't know if you follow Instagram or YouTube or TikTok, for God's sake. I don't know if you do that. But that's the new...
I don't, but I have children and grandchildren that do.
Right.
So, yes.
So, Barb, that's the new thing, right? Get a business that's absentee and turnkey. Show me a business that's absentee and turnkey. Brokers are looking to connect with your operator and sell this business. Your number is public, theirs isn't. Franchises, they want to come in, take over the lease, fill it with equipment, and then, I mean, we all know franchises. Name a franchise that sells hamburgers. No? McDonald's, right?
Yes.
Can you make a better hamburger than McDonald's? I already know the answer to that.
In my opinion, yes.
Anyone can, but yet they sell billions because they have a franchise model. All right. So McDonald's has a terrible product, but when you have kids, they understand there's a toy in the box. They see the golden arches. They want to go. You're trapped. Fries are pretty good. Franchises don't work in cash businesses, and this is a learned opinion. Yet franchises are popping up in laundromats. And it goes back to those TikTokers turning 30, wanting to have a side hustle that's going to make them cash. And so the franchisees, the brokers that are reaching out to you, that is happening everywhere, sure. But again, being selfish, I want to separate what we do, how we do it, and why I'm making this call from all of the wheat from the chaff. The person you have on the phone is looking to sign a lease 2025. Great, I'll wait. Or you might say, I could tell you were checking the rent rolls. I appreciate that. Not putting asunder your relationship with your tenant. Have you been inside of this laundromat ever?
Hundreds of times.
Hundreds. All right, good. Well, they're not serving the community. Therefore, in my opinion, they're not serving themselves, and they're not serving you or the landlord. We do a very different business by spending the hundreds of thousands on washers and dryers, but what we won't do is spend the money on the infrastructure because it's already there. I'm not going to build a store across the street and try to crush this one because I'd never earn. Why would I? Franchises are doing that, and brokers are doing that. So again, what I'm trying to do is answer your question in total and then say, here's how we are different, what we are looking to do. I don't know regarding anyone. You've been the one to accept a phone call from someone that said, I want to lease this space. How did that go? Did they email you?
Some do, some don't.
Okay. Well, again, wheat from the chaff.
If you email me, can you tell me your name or what the email is? Because our system will kick out any brand new email.
Sure.
And it will go to spam.
My name is Danny D'Angelo. My email is danny@freelaundromat.com. I've been building laundromats without buying them or building them for, again, over 20 years. And what I'll do, I'll head it Barb, so at least you'll be able to see that. I'll send it as soon as we hang up. And I'll put laundromat
Okay.
lease because that's what I'm looking to do. Barb dash laundromat lease. We are looking to lease the space and get out of your hair. Immediately start swinging hammers and spending the money on washers and dryers. And this is the first I've heard. We're looking all over the county, most certainly in 3 states, really. And this is what it takes. You take the time to ask me a very pointed, intelligent question. I'm going to take the time to answer it in full. No competition, because we're not competing with any of the individuals that you mentioned. Not at all.
Right.
I've done this many, many times. I'll do it many more. But I think it's social media and the fact that kids don't want to work for a living. Been a while since I've dug a ditch. What's your email address? Yeah.
Or you just went to the plaza?
I have, excuse me, I have your phone number from the plaza. Like I said, we have physically scouted this location.
So it would
I got it
companies
first.
is IES.
Yeah, I got it first time through.
Okay.
Barb, I appreciate you. My partner's name is Chuck. I will CC him in the email. Any other questions?
Okay.
Anything else I mean, laundromats are supposedly this antiquated, silly business from the 50s, but you might imagine there are modern 23rd century laundromats. We haven't gotten into AI yet, but beyond that, I'm happy to answer any questions you have. This place is a throwback. It looks like the Brady Bunch in there. The folding tables are the worst. That's tactile. Thank you. That's tactile. That's where you go in there and you do your laundry.
It is. Yeah, it is very, very old. So.
You're folding and you get splinters. I think you're going to be a little upset. Forget about going to Yelp. You're probably going to sue.
Mm-hmm.
Barb, you're all right. I'll say this is my cell phone number, by the way, so hang on to it, and I'll make sure it's included in the email.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, the 6 threads that are spinning in my head right now, one of which, Barb's a great gal, older, mentioned grandkids and kids and all this kind of thing. And I always ask when we have a good, pointed conversation what you think. But first, before I forget, you hired me to do a job, and I'm going to make sure I do that job. I've never called this number. Her number was not in my telephone. I don't know her.
Mm-hmm.
It is now. The moment I make a call, I have thousands of landlords and clients, accidental operators and business brokers that I've called, and they're all in my phone. Thank God for Apple. And she says, and it's human nature. This is the 7th call. All right. Okay. So in total, we had a conversation with her. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was positive. I mean, I think she realizes that the place is a mess and a disaster, but it sounds like, hey, maybe the guy's still paying his lease and they're just kind of riding out. I don't get the impression that she felt he was looking to renew in 25. So maybe it's just a waiting game. And I think she seemed open to getting some education. And I think you did a great job in providing that.
Well, you are definitely an optimist. So I appreciate that. Because, a lot of people say, oh, God, why is she getting 7 telephone calls here in PA for this store? Well, the store's got a good footprint. And this is literally the first time I've ever heard this type of thing. This makes for interesting YouTube fodder, right? And I'm answering her
Yeah, yeah.
question in the reality that, but that's why I think that she's getting these calls. There are people on that own one tiny laundromat and they become very famous. They're over it since 2019. YouTube has exploded with this. Now, Barb doesn't say, "Oh, hey, it's Danny. Hi. I know you." I'm not looking to be YouTube famous, not at all. But I think that is the real answer. She's, "Oh my God, why is everybody calling?" But first, do you understand? Here's a woman that was maybe keeping her cards very close to the chest because to the vest, the first thing she said was, "Well, you know that if they leave, they'd take their equipment with them." Was she testing me? If she's had 7 phone calls from brokers, possible non-hostile takeovers, franchises, people that perhaps have seen my course, right? And they picked up the phone and called. Don't do that.
Yeah.
That's not real smart because they made 0 impression. I said, "Did they email you?" No. How do you not make a follow-up email? You have to.
Right.
Who is she going to call in 8 months when they stop paying their rent? I don't know. I hope it's me. And if she doesn't have my email, you expect her to remember this call and this date and go find it? She said our email system will kick it out. So another thing, the 7th thread we have, all the balls we're juggling, make sure that she responds to the email. So remind me in a week to ask her if she got it. Not immediately, not tomorrow, but in a week. "Hey, did you grab this email?" Because again, she changed her name too. That was interesting. Maybe she got married.
Yeah. I don't know, married or divorced or
Ran off to Vegas.
maybe. Yeah.
All I can do on every single telephone call. Now, look, I've got these short videos on YouTube where they blow up and they're going viral because some landlord, I already know the landlord's never going to do business with me, my client, you, anyone else, for whatever reason. It's not that I get angry or red-faced and I want to scream at them. I'm not going to let anybody run roughshod over me or you.
Right.
But the moment she asks a question, instead of hustling me off the phone, I'm going to take the time. Look, we leave tons of messages doing this. You know that. The previous call, nobody answered. We called this guy. We called her last week. We called her company 2 weeks ago. Finally, she's done with her lunch, she's got a belly full of salad, and she answers the telephone. I'm going to do my level best to make sure that she hangs up the phone and thinks one thing. That's the group I want signing a lease here. Even at the end, do you have any other questions?
That's why. Yeah, that's why again when she's like, "Hey, 7 other people have called," like that doesn't worry me as much either because if they're not qualified, credentialed, serious people, they're going to get pushed aside. I can see distributors fighting for this space. I imagine the guy who's there, his distributor is probably chomping at the bit to get a hold of his store and like you said, retool it and resell it for astronomical amounts of money. But outside of those kind of guys, I mean, we come across as professional, organized, and like we know what the hell we're talking about, right?
Correct.
Yeah. That's it, man. We just got to give ourselves the best shot. So I appreciate you doing that.
Not at all.
It's exciting to actually have a nice long call with somebody though, because like you said, it's a lot of calls and waiting for callbacks. But it's nice to hear you actually working your magic and trying to put us in that first place position here. So,
by the way, it's champing at the bit, not chomping at the bit. Go look it up.
Oh, really?
One of my many linguistical pet peeves. So I will email her. I will CC you. Get out, scout more locations. But here's the other thing. Keep a very close physical eye on this location, Chuck, because we know. You could hear her shuffling papers at some point, right? And she looked at the rent rolls. And she said, 2025.
Yeah.
So at the very least, this needs to be one of your chickadees that you keep under your wing and you keep an eye on. At the very least, we email her. All she said is 2025. She didn't say when. I could have pushed, but I don't push. You don't want someone pushy on the phone who you don't know. She said people out of state, people, brokers, franchisees. I'll bet that the franchises that don't work are on the phone calling every laundromat without having scouted. You notice that's the other thing. It may be psychological warfare, and it is psyops. I said, come on, you're going to get a splinter in there. That's the one thing that I noticed on this. Those horrible folding tables that somebody got from bulk trash. That's terrible.
Yeah, it's actually the place is actually worse than the photos, I would say. And she knows that. She said she's been there hundreds of times, so she should be well aware what's
maybe
going on.
Maybe she does do her laundry in there.
Yeah, maybe.
All right.
And it's a nice center. There's a dollar store next door. There's a car dealership at the end.
Yeah, and that was the other thing.
I think elevate the place.
If I could scold you for a bit, when she says, "Where did you get my number?" I'm kind of, I'm looking at your cursor in the document. Just write out, if you can in the future. I mean, that's a weird thing to say. Like, where'd you get my number? What are you in the CIA, lady?
She was weird. She was after all that long conversation. She was like a little reluctant to give you her email too.
Yeah,
which was kind of funny, but
strange.
But hey, the other side note: the guy who owns this laundromat owns another one across the town. It's also pretty terrible. So that'll be next week.
Good. Yeah. Excellent. All right. Later, dude.
We'll get them both. We'll get them both. All right. Later, bud.
Ciao. Pardon me. All right. Now on to you louts. The Ring. Hi, Danny. Let's do it. It's called a recession. Thanks for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you, as always, getting to your comments. It's good when they hear you out and seem to understand what you're saying to them. That happens more often than you're going to see. We talked on this call with Barb about social media and the way that works. And we want to swipe. That's what we want to do. People are listening to videos muted now while the TV's on, while they're watching their cat juggle. We need all of this influx of media. Oh, you're watching the game and it's live and there's a commercial. Tell the truth. You grab your phone and start doing the thing, but you got to listen in the background. You got the radio on, the news is going, the kids are playing trumpet. 60-second video shorts are not what this is all about. This is about you hire me and I'm making an impression. I want Barb to hang up the phone and say, well, goddamn, that's the entity that I want in this store, not the other 7 calls that were made. Was she being adorable? Was she being kitschy? Was she trying to lie in the beginning when she said, well, they're going to take their equipment? She was asking these questions, and then suddenly, did any of those other callers make any attempt to educate her? I don't mind it. Jonathan, hey, Danny, hope you're doing well. I am, thank you. Never felt better, never had more. I think I've watched about half of your call club videos. I'm still getting situated in my new job, JOB. Look at you. I always know the fans. Just over broke. Stabilize my income, paying bills, then I want to pay you. All right, Jonathan, don't worry. Smash the button in the course. Let's get on the phone. I'm talking to folks every day. I'm happy to do it. And my consultations, if there's anyone on here who's done it, it's really about you. It's not about me. It's not about laundromats. It's about how it fits into your lifestyle. Should you even do this? Again, back to this call. This is not a TikTok video. This is not some instant get-rich-quick thing. It's work. I'm very opinionated because I know what works. And now I'm some silly authority because I'm looking at stores all over the universe. I am. Because my clients are doing the legwork, putting the stores in front of me. And I know instantly, picture is worth 1,000 words. When I looked at that store in this document that Chuck sent, I go, okay, those folding tables are a joke. There's a couple of wooden barrels with literally bulk trash wood on top of them for them to fold their clothes. Jonathan, looking forward to our first call. I have one crappy laundromat already scouted. Well, you better hurry, Jonathan, right? I should be salesy on this call. You better hire me because all the brokers and everybody's calling. This is a very unique call because I've never had a landlord or their agent say I've had 7 calls. Now you're talking amongst yourself. Jonathan says, I agree, William. I've watched this course already. It's a matter of using my time off work to scout, which I'm doing. Jonathan and everybody, if you can't figure out how to do this, I don't want you to quit your job. You have to pay the bills. You have to keep food in the cupboards. But when you've made the decision, especially you give me a few dollars, you've made the decision to do this thing, you've ingested the course content, the videos, you're spending every waking hour, sorry, honey, kiss the kids, kick the dog, and go out and scout. You can scout these stores late night, early morning, weekends. Commit to it. Not to me, but to yourself and to your family. Commit to that. Because once you've seen the course, you know exactly what to look for and what you're looking at. You might walk through this store and say, oh, it's not bad. The wood paneling aside, you guys are awesome. Amazing watching Danny work her. It's like a slow dance. Well, I like her. I don't know if I'm going to ask her to the prom. Mr. Scotsman, I'm active duty Army. Thank you for your service. Should I wait to get into this business after I retire 7 years, since I'll be on duty station for 3 to 4 years? Get it now. 6 years, world's finest Navy, myself, my friend. I can't answer that, but I can say this. You could scoop up a store within those 7 years, or 2 or 3. There's nothing stopping you. And if you're leaving that duty station to go back home, or you want to live somewhere else, I don't know where you're at, it's fine, doesn't matter. If that is not the place you want to live, build a store. Do that like I spoke seconds ago about. Spend every waking moment when you're not on duty building a store or 2 or 10, because you can sell it. Yes, I say no one ever sells a successful cash business, but plenty of people do. These franchises are doing it. I'm a very, very small blip on the radar of the universe of laundromats. I still am. I'm making no attempt to be bigger. I don't pay for ads on this or any other platform. Never have, never spent a dime. Never. My content tends to be entertaining, and that brings people in. My impetus for doing this is to be certain that you don't get busted up buying a laundromat. I'd rather see you do something else. So there's your answer. I can't speak for you. I don't know what your MOS is. I called it rating in the Navy. But do this. You're on autopilot, dude. Maybe you are a pilot. I don't know. Wade says it's true. You spend the time to learn about your potential new client to make sure laundromats and putting in the work is something they are willing to do on that consultation. Thanks, Wade. De Jesus, I found a 7,500 square foot space in New York City. I believe half the space was used for a laundromat over 20 years ago. It's been vacant for 10 years. Great point. If it is not, most of the stores that we take over, the preponderance of the locations we take over are just like this call. They're operating poorly, but operating. Because we know that behind that horrible, nasty, filthy equipment and those disgusting splintery folding tables is what we need. The gas, water, electric, it's all there. In a store that's 20 years old, been shut for 10, I can almost guarantee the copper's gone. And that's what we are after. But I don't know. I also don't know your situation. Get the course. Not because I give a shit about a few dollars, but because I don't want to see you make the mistake of going through some broker, leasing that space, and finding out that it will never be a viable laundromat again. By the way, 7,500 square foot in the city? Oof. I hope all the infrastructure's there, because that could be 40 or 50,000 a month in rent if you don't do it right. And here's Jonathan answering the question. You guys are awesome. I appreciate each and every one of you. Start with something simple. Grab up my silly course. Find out if this is right for you. Ciao.